निद्राहार विहार कादि विदितं चत्यन्तं दीनं चजम्.
Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to the members of the Srila Prabhupada Disciples Association worldwide. And we certainly appreciate your participation in our weekly sadhana program, which includes a class from Caitanya-caritāmṛta every Wednesday, and on Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. How's my audio, Vinkat Prabhu in South India? Does it work? Fine? Oh, thank you. I wanted to further mention that the classes are being well received, or the readings and discussions, on our YouTube channel, Krishna Consciousness Movement YouTube. And in this way, people who cannot attend according to their time zone restrictions can also tune in to the classes accordingly as we move along. Hold on for 1 second. We had a group of people speaking here. I couldn't hear myself. So in order to facilitate them, it's online, and not only for our current participants, but this is also being recorded for future reference for new people who are taking up Krishna consciousness and want to get association with Prabhupada disciples, actual ones that were in contact with Srila Prabhupada when he was carrying out his mission of bringing Krishna consciousness to the world. And this opportunity has been well documented for other people. Just last week, one of my colleagues here at the ashram received 19,000 photographs of Srila Prabhupada were sent to him by email. 19,000 photographs. It's going to take us a long time to go through them. I've been sorting through some of the ones from 1966 or 76, excuse me, at the Mayapur festival, where Prabhupada was there. It was 1976, Balaram, if you recall, in Australia. If you recall, 1976 was really the heyday of the mission. It was building and building and building. And it became more and more popular. And if you recall, I think you were at the festival, Prabhupada went around the room in the evenings. He would come downstairs and go around, and we'd have kirtan, and everybody would march behind him, and he'd ring the bell. Were you at that, Balaram?
Yeah, and also Guru Puja in the morning. We all used to try and ring the bell behind Prabhupada.
Exactly. So we got all kinds of pictures. Well, there's 19,000 pictures, everyone. So if anybody's interested, I'll see if I can speak to my colleague.
I saw one photograph someone showed me, and Prabhupada was ringing the bell, and I was about 2 meters behind Prabhupada in the photograph.
Well, I'll look for you.
Very special.
If I can still recognize you. Because it's a long time ago, but it's extraordinary to see it. And I do love the pictures that Vincott has up at the beginning of the program, and I find them intriguing. There's so much information in the pictures, just to see all of the people that were surrounding Prabhupada, how much momentum he built with the accumulation of so many disciples. And we're all blessed, we're all blessed to be part of that. And especially those that were at a particular time in history where we got to get in a van and drive to see him, or get on a plane and fly to see him in Mayapur and Vrindavan. I can remember that we had the jet plane, that was the 747, I believe. And the one year, I think it was 74, the whole plane was filled with Vaishnavas. We took it over. We would have kirtan up and down the aisles. My godbrother Uttama Shloka would lead. I'd play the cartels. We'd all chant, everybody on the plane, including the stewardesses, and the pilots would come out. It became just a Krishna plane flying over the Atlantic Ocean. So it was quite an amazing, amazing time, everyone. And, you know, we want to share that with you as much as possible in these programs, so that we all become inspired to carry on with the burden of presenting Krishna consciousness to the material world. And moving forward here this afternoon or this evening, we're reading from the original diary of Srila Prabhupada, which is just absolutely enlightening for those that are interested in how to follow in the footsteps of a pure devotee, based on his personal struggle, which he outlines in his diary. And the April highlights feature books. The headings are books, classes, and kirtans, and letters and contacts. Books, classes and kirtans. Thank you, Vincott. And letters and content. So we're going to go back to the Bowery summary for this evening, and we'll move on with this tomorrow, next time. Did you get the Bowery summary, brother? Next page. There we go. Hopefully you guys, you Prabhus and Matajis can, or all of you, excuse me, can see this. Beginning with the first meetings at the Bowery Loft, more people attend the classes. Srila Prabhupada maintains contact with Dr. Mishra and occasionally visits Ananda Ashram on the weekends. Harvey Cohen loans Srila Prabhupada his typewriter, and Paul Murray supplies a tape recorder for the classes. Paul expresses seriousness about becoming a Vaishnava and runs daily errands for Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada attempts unsuccessfully to get free passage for Paul to go to India on the Scindia steamship line, shipping line. At the end of April, Srila Prabhupada vacates the room on 72nd Street. That was because, as you all know, if you were with us, he was broken into and they stole his room and they stole his typewriter, tragically. But this was became an incentive for things to move forward. Even though there was a setback, it was a setback to step forward. Around the beginning of May, Carl Jurgens, later to be initiated as Karla Pati Das, begins attending the meetings and donates a tape recorder. At the request of some students, Srila Prabhupada begins teaching Sanskrit. On May 9th, 14 men and women attend the class. Wow. So expanding, steady service, and Krishna is reciprocating with the pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada begins the process of incorporating a society and gives Karl a copy of the Memorandum of Association of the League of Devotees, which he had used years ago in India, so he can consult with a lawyer. Srila Prabhupada discusses with Karl the use of the drug LSD and convinces him that it is unnecessary for spiritual revelation. Srila Prabhupada receives a letter from Mangal Niloy Brahmachari in India, who offers to come to America to help in the mission. On May 25th, Srila Prabhupada holds consultations about incorporating the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Some days later, Srila Prabhupada meets with Stephen Goldsmith, a lawyer. This effort continues until July, when the society is registered. So, May 25th, June 25th, and then in July. So there was some time in the preparation of these articles of incorporation, and we'll be reviewing these in a future classes, so everybody knows what Prabhupada's intention was in the incorporation. At the end of May, Paul's behavior becomes erratic due to intoxication, and Srila Prabhupada looks for a new place. In June, the weather becomes very hot and attendance at the classes increases. On June 9th, Srila Prabhupada receives the final letter from Sri Padampat Singhania, refusing to help with purchasing a temple building. So he's been reaching out back to India. Zero help. On Sunday, June 12th, Srila Prabhupada holds the first feast for the members of his fledgling society and cooks 12 different preparations. He cooked them because no one else really knew what to do. 16 people attended. On June 23rd, Mike, later to become Mukunda Das, asked to become a Vaishnava and tells Srila Prabhupada that he will marry his girlfriend. Later on in September, at Srila Prabhupada's apartment on 26th Avenue, Mukunda and Janaki are married in the first wedding ceremony to take place in ISKCON, presided over by Srila Prabhupada, although this event is not mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in the journal. So it's been now, he arrived in New York City, as you all know, on September 19th, 1965. I was going to say my birthday. It was 1947, September 19th. So he arrived in New York City on September 19th, 1965. And now, after 1 year, we're seeing that he's starting to get some momentum moving forward in spreading Krishna consciousness by bringing new people on board. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we'll go forward now with the Jaya Radha Madhava prayers, chanted by His Divine Grace for our benefit. Please chant along. And then we'll have the class from northern Washington State or somewhere, Yaśodā somewhere on a long journey, but he's here to give the class on Caitanya-caritāmṛta. All glories to
Cedarville, Northern California. Cedarville, Northern California.
There you go. Oh, you look fine too. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Venkat, please.
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amaswaparamansa Paribrajagacharya Sattare Srismādhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnavin ki Jai Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivācharya Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Bhog Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Girivardhan ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए और ग्लोरीज टू देयर सिमर और ग्लोरीज टू देयर सिमर थैंक यू वेरी मच
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. First, we will read a few verses from the Adi-lila, chapter 1, from text 18 through 22. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text 19. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenayatmasat, etinera charana vandana tire morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text 20. Grantera Rambikari Mangala Charana, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text 21. Tinera smaranayai vigna vinashana, anayasayai nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text 22. Simangala charanai trivida prakar, vastu nirdesha chirvada namaskara. The invocation involves three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. So today we will be reading from Adi Lila, chapter 3, text, I believe we're at 55. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text 55. Krishna Varna Shabderartha Duita Praman, Krishna Binu Tandre Mukhe Nahi Aisama An. Krishna Varna Shabdera, of the word Krishna Varna, Artha, the meaning, Dui, to, Ta, certainly, Pramana, example, Krishna, Krishna. Vinu, except for, Tanra, of him, Mukhe, in the mouth, Naiyaeshi, does not come, Ana, anything else. There are two meanings of the word Krishna Varna. Indeed, there is nothing else but Krishna issues from his mouth. Text 56. Keatandre balayadi Krishna Varna, Ara Visheshane Tare Are Nivarana. Keha, someone, Tanri, to him, Bali, ascribes, Yadi, hith, Krishna, black, Varana, the color, Ara, another, Visheshane, in the adjective, Tara, of that, Kari, does, Nivarana, prevention. Translation. If someone tries to describe him as being of blackish complexion, the next adjective, Svisha Akrishnam, immediately restricts him. Text 57. Deha kanye aitan ho Akrishna Varana, Akrishna Varane kahe Pita Varana, Deha kantye, in the luster of the body, Aya is, Tenho, he, Akrishna, not black, Varana, the color, Akrishna Varani, by a color that is not blackish. Kahe, one means, Pita, yellow, Varana, the color. Translation. His complexion is certainly not blackish. Indeed, his not being blackish indicates that his complexion is yellow. It's quite important. I'm just going to interrupt for a moment here. The reason why this particular section is so important is because Gaudiya Vaishnavas claim or present that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar, the incarnation of Krishna for the age. Now, what happens, there are other sampradayas and other pundits who claim that Krishna does not come in Kali Yuga. They use this word Triyuga, which is found in the Vishnu Sahasranama in the Mahabharata. But this explanation of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami defeats all these arguments. This is a further word-for-word analysis of the text from Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam, Sangha Upanga Parsanam, Yagne Samkirtane Praye, Yajantihi Sumedashaha. So this is a very important analysis that we should become very familiar with. Text number 58. Kalo yang vidvam sahashputam abhiyajanti dyuti barad akrishnangam krishnam makavidibirukirtanamayayi upasyam chaprahuryyamakila chaturtasramajusham sadevas Caitanya-caritāmṛta nakripayatu. Kalo, in the age of Kali, yam, him whom, vidvamsaha, the learned men, sputam, clearly manifested, abhiyajanti, worship, duty bharat, due to an abundance of bodily luster, akrishna sangam, whose body is not blackish, Krishnam, Lord Krishna, makavidibihi, by the performance of sacrifice, utkirtanamayayi, consisting of loud chanting of the holy name, upasyam, worshipable objects, cha, and prahuhu, they said, yam, whom, akila, all, chaturta asrama jusham, of those who are in the fourth order of life, sannyasa, sahi, devaha, the supreme personality of Godhead, Caitanya-caritāmṛta, having the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, atitaram, excessively, na, unto us, kripayatu, let him show his mercy. Translation. By performing the sacrifice of congregational chanting of the holy name, learned scholars in the age of Kali worship Lord Krishna, who is now non-blackish because of the great upsurge of the feelings of Srimati Radharani. He is the only worshipable deity for the Paramahamsas, who have attained the highest stage of the fourth order, sannyas. May that supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, show us his great causeless mercy. Purport. This text, as well as text 63 and 66, is from the Stava Mala of Srila Rupa Goswami. Text 59. Pratyaksha tanhara tapta kanchanera duty janhara chataya nase ajñata tamastati. Pratyaksha, vivid, tanhara, of him, tapta, molten, kanchanera, of gold, duty, effulgence, yanhara, of whom, chataya, by the luster, nashi, destroys, ajnana, of ignorance, tamastati, the extent of the darkness. Translation. One can vividly see his glowing complexion of molten gold, which dispels the darkness of ignorance. Text 60. Jiver kalmasatamonasi karibare, angayupanganama nana astradare. Jivera of the living entity, kalmasha of sinful activities, tamaha the darkness, nasha karibare for destroying, anga associates, upanga devotees, nama holy names, nana various, astra weapons, dhari he holds. Translation: the sinful life of the living beings results from ignorance. To destroy that ignorance, he has brought various weapons, such as his plenary associates, his devotees, and the holy name. Text 61. Bhaktir virodi karma dharma vaya dharma, tahar kalmashana masi mahatamaha. Bhaktira, to devotional service. Virodhi, averse. Karma, activity. Dharma, religious. Va, or. Adharma, irreligious. Tahara, of that. Kalmasha, sin. Nama, the name. Say this. Mahatamaha, great darkness. Translation: the greatest ignorance consists of activities, whether religious or irreligious, that are opposed to devotional service. They are to be known as sins, kalmasha. Text 62. Bahutuli hari bari premadishti chai, kariya kalmasha nasa premete bhashai. Bahutuli, raising the arms. Hari bali, chanting the holy name. Premadishti, with his glance of deep love. Chaya, he looks. Kariya, causing. Kalmasha, to sins. Nasha, destruction. Premete, in love of God. Bashaya, he floods. Raising his arms, chanting the holy name, and looking upon all with deep love, he drives away all sins and floods everyone with love of Godhead. Omajnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshuran militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Namo Vishnu padaya Krishna prestaya bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shwanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Adadana strinam danter idam yachi punaha punaha Srimad Rupa padam bhoja dhulisyam janma janmani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrindam Sri Rup Sri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatham Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatham Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's quite significant that Srila Prabhupada many times in various lectures, conversation, in many places in his books, discusses the position, the unique and special position of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Chaitanya. Now, why is that? Well, besides the issue that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar or the incarnation for the age of Kali Yuga, it's important to understand that our previous acharyas have many times discussed the issue of evidence from the various Vedic scriptures, such as the Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ananta Samhita, and other literatures, explaining this position of Lord Chaitanya. What Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has done here is systematically analyze that verse from the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishna. Jiva Goswami has also discussed that verse in considerable details in some of his sandarbhas. But in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, what Krishnadas Goswami has done is to present all of the arguments why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the avatar for the age and refute all of the other arguments or specious or unnecessary arguments by various pundits and so-called scholars. Now, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's up to us to become familiar with these explanations of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Prabhupada's explanations. We saw last week how Krishnadas Kaviraj was explaining. He gave that verse in text 52, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam, and also in text 49, he discussed that verse from the Mahabharata, Suvarna Varne Mango Varangas Chandanangadi. This is from the Mahabharata, from the Vishnu Sahasranam, or 1008 names of Lord Vishnu. In our Sampradaya, Sripad Baladev Vidyabhushana has given elaborate explanation of that particular verse from the Mahabharata, and Srila Prabhupada explained this in text 49 in the purport. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana, commenting upon this verse, asserts that Lord Chaitanya is the supreme personality of Godhead according to the evidence of the Upanishads. He explains that Suvarna Varnaha means a golden complexion. He also quotes the Vedic injunction, Yada Pasya Pasyati Rukma Varnam Kartaramisham Purusham Brahmayonim. Rukma Varnam Kartaramisham refers to the supreme personality of Godhead as having a complexion the color of molten gold. Purusham means the Supreme Lord, and Brahmayonim indicates that he is also the Supreme Brahman. This evidence too proves that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Another meaning of the description of the Lord as having a golden hue is that Lord Chaitanya's personality is as fascinating as gold is attractive. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana has explained that the word Varanga means exquisitely beautiful. Lord Chaitanya accepted sannyas, leaving aside his household life to preach his mission. He has equanimity in different senses. First, he described the confidential truth of the personality of Godhead. And second, he satisfies everyone by knowledge and attachment to Krishna. He is peaceful because he renounces all topics not related to the service of Krishna. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana has explained that the word nishtha indicates his being rigidly fixed in chanting the holy name of Sri Krishna. Lord Chaitanya subdued all disturbing opponents of devotional service, especially the monists who are actually averse to the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. So this is very important. That particular statement from the Mahabharata, which has been taken out of the Vishnu Sahasranam, is used by both Baladev Vidyabhushana, Jiva Goswami, and Rupa Goswami to explain that sacred divine position of Lord Chaitanya. Every devotee should learn that verse and be able to explain it. This is important. The same for that verse from the Bhagavatam that is cited a little bit later in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, where this is text number 52. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangasta Parsadam Yagne Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumida Saha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons in confidential complexion. Now, this is a very important verse, again, that devotees should learn. Either get a little book or a computer program and repeat it every day, 10 times a day, morning and evening. Learn every word and learn how to explain it. It's important to see how Krishna Das Kaviraj takes every word of this verse and explain it in text 53, 54. And he is also quoting from the Stavamala of Rupa Goswami. Now, those who object, we went to see some Swamis in Udupi one time, and we quoted that verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam as evidence to show that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself, is Krishna himself, who has appeared to deliver the message of Sankirtan. And they say, oh no, because Krishna is known as Tri Yuga. He doesn't come in Kali Yuga. But we see in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a word by Prahlad, Channakalo Yadabhavas Triyugo Ata Satpam. The word Triyuga is used, and it is described that in this age, Krishna comes in a Channa. Channa means it is covered, like a secret avatar. Of course, it is not so secret because the personality of Lord Chaitanya, his amazing presence, his golden complexion could not be hidden by anyone. Everybody could understand. But the point is that Rupa Goswami, who was a direct associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, witnessed the activities of Sri Chaitanya, and he has written in his prayers in his Stavamala, as well as other transcendental songs describing the exact bodily features of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the exact activities. So what happened after that discussion with the Swamiji from Udupi, who incidentally was very friendly and very supportive of Prabhupada's movement, when we saw Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan, we described to him what happened. And Prabhupada's reply is the best way to answer this is not to create discord or disharmony with these Swamis from Udupi, because they are in our Sampradaya ultimately, is to explain that our Gaudiya-acharyas, such as Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Baladev Vidyabhushana, Narottam Das Thakur, all these acharyas have explained the position of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada said they are much greater than us, and they have come to that conclusion by their scriptural analysis. He says that is a nice way of answering their objection. So like that, just want to mention that. At this point, I just wanted to recite a few more verses that we started to read last week about the position of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This was quoted in Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Adi-lila, chapter 3, text 52. Adi-lila, chapter 3, text 52. These are various evidences that Srila Prabhupada has provided to explain the divinity of Lord Chaitanya. Number 5, from the Krishna Yamala Tantra. Punyakshetre nabadwepe bhavishyami sachi sutaha. I shall appear in the holy land of Nabadwip as the son of Sachi Devi. Number 6, from the Vayu Purana. Kalo samkirtanarambe bhavishyami sachi sutaha. In the age of Kali, when the Sankirtan movement is inaugurated, I shall descend as the son of Sachi Devi. Number 7, from the Brahma Yamala Tantra. Atavaham daradame bhutva madbhaktarupadrik mayayam chabhavishyami kalo sankirtanagame. Sometimes I personally appear on the surface of the world in the garb of a devotee. Specifically, I appear as the son of Sachi in Kali Yuga to start the Sankirtana movement. And previously we cited this verse. We're going to read from the Ananta Samhita, number 8. Yaeva Bhagavan Krishno Radhika Pranavallabaha Srishtyadu Sajagannatu Gora Asin Maheshwari. The Supreme Person, Sri Krishna himself, who is the life of Sri Radharani and is the Lord of the universe in creation, maintenance, annihilation, appears as Gaura or Maheshwari. Again, the preceding verse from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Adi-lila 352. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So again, these are so much evidences from Lord Chaitanya. This is very important for devotees to be very familiar, to study this and memorize some of these verses and learn. Very important. We see in the beginning of the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains that the literature of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas is very voluminous. There are many, many biographies and scriptural explanations of the exalted position of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu given in Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata, the Sri Chaitanya Mangala, and other biographies recorded. So many songs of Narottam Das Thakur, so many songs of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, the literatures of the Goswamis, the purports and commentaries of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and most recently, the explanations of Baladev Vidyabhusana in his Govinda Bhashya and many of his commentaries. These are very important. Although many of these literatures were not given by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada is quoted. He has cited from these literatures to bring to our attention the importance of these great acharyas like Baladev Vidyabhusana, Jiva Goswami, and others. So in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada also refers to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And the reason I'm bringing this up, after the conversion of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in Jagannath Puri, what happened is he composed a Chaitanya Ashtotara Satanama, 108 names, glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's very important because this is very beautiful, composed in Sanskrit, where he's given Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 108 names and explaining that exalted position of our Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very, very sweet. It's also available, I believe, in the internet. People can find that. So there are so many different explanations from our acharyas. And it's up to us to become familiar with this, to enjoy the transcendental amrita or nectar, and to learn how to explain it. It is not difficult. It is not something very complicated. In 1977, I had extensive conversations with Srila Prabhupada when I had the chance to take care of him for about 2 weeks at night. And he wanted to know what we were teaching the children. And one of the issues that he mentioned, what about the position of Lord Chaitanya? What are you telling them? And I told Srila Prabhupada exactly what's in these verses here. I said, well, we're teaching him that verse that you cited in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta from the Mahabharata. We are teaching him that verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the 11th canto, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam. We're also explaining every word that you've given with these various scriptural evidences. And Prabhupada was very pleased. And Prabhupada's reaction was, this is important, not just for the Gurukul children, but every devotee in this movement should become familiar with this. Very important point, very important. We will see next week in text number 63 of the Adilita chapter 3, there's another verse that's quoted from Rupa Goswami. Well, why is it important? Because scholars, many scholars have analyzed the position of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami was very unique because they were direct witnesses of Lord Chaitanya's activities. They were not like a scholar who analyzes activities 200 years later or 100 years later. They were there. They had direct personal association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They had direct personal instruction with Lord Chaitanya in Varanasi. That's why when we read these descriptions, we see there is a verse by Krishna Das Kaviraj where he explains that he personally empowered Rupa Goswami to make these descriptions of the scriptures. Same thing for the Hari Bhakti Vilas, same thing for all of these explanations of the 6 Goswamis. These are very, very valuable gems in the ocean of transcendental nectars. When we study the Goswami Astakam of Srinivasacharya, there's that famous verse, Nana Shastra Vicharaneka Nipuno Saddharma Samstapako. Why did he do this? Why did they spend so much time and trouble to analyze all of these scriptures? And this is nicely described. Saddharma Samstapako, to establish the true path of religion and proper philosophy in the age of Kali Yuga. This was the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We recite before we begin these classes, Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, that we offer our obeisances to Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, Stapitam Yena Bhutale, on this earth, Bhutale, that Rupa Goswami was the chosen recipient to explain the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Very important point. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. He received the special mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like when you read the Govinda Vasya of Baladevi Devotion, there is an explanation that he gives, that this commentary was not his own commentary, that this was the commentary that he received from Lord Govinda in Jaipur, because he was challenged to produce a Vedanta Sutra commentary in a very short amount of time. Now, anybody who knows about Sanskrit or Vedic philosophy knows usually that takes months or years to compose a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. It's not that you comment on something. You have to be familiar with all the Upanishads. A person has to be familiar with all the previous commentaries of the previous Acharya. He has to have vast knowledge of grammar, philosophy, logic, scriptural analysis, and everything. And it's a monumental task. He did that in 2 weeks. That's why he called it Govinda Bhashya, that this is the commentary of Lord Govinda, as revealed by Radha Govinda to Baladevi Vibhushana, because he had been challenged. The Ramanandis challenged him that you claim that your sampradaya is a bona fide Vedic sampradaya. So you claim you're followers of Madhva. Do you accept Madhva's commentary? And basically the reply says, yes, we accept, but we have our own commentary. It's important to note that in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the Goswami's explanation, why they did not write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, it's not that they were not qualified. They were very qualified. As a matter of fact, Jiva Goswami, both in the Krishna Sandarbha, Tattva Sandarbha, and Bhakti Sandarbha, has given many explanations of several sutras of the Vedanta Sutras. But the philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism is based on a verse from the Garuda Purana, Artoyam Brahmasutranam Vedartha Paribrime, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. The purport, the explanation of the meaning of Vedanta Sutra can be found perfectly in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why all of our acharyas have focused on that. But Baladevi Vibhushana, when he was challenged, he was deputed by Vishwanath Chakravarti in Vrindavan, who was very old. He said, you go and answer their challenge. And it was a monumental explanation of the Vedanta Sutra, very well written. It's also available if anybody wants. I think that Kushakrata Prabhu translated that, and Balaram Prabhu has also studied that. Actually, I did not want to say this in this class, but Balaram Prabhu is a very astute scholar of Baladevi Vibhushana, who studied both the many literatures of the Goswamis and of Baladevi Vibhushana. Very, very special that he's with us. And also his wonderful pictures of Radha Krishna just behind his head on the left side. There's Prabhupada and Radha Krishna. There's also Shyamasundar Prabhu as a beautiful picture of Lord Chaitanya, who is dancing with Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita-Acārya. Very special, very blissful, very blissful. So I'll stop here, shoot my mouth, and we'll leave the many other comments to more learned devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for your expert explanation of these verses, glorifying the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this particular reading on text 59 and 60, it points out that the mode of ignorance is compelling people to take up sinful life. And because of that, even though Lord Chaitanya has appeared without his mercy, that ignorance cannot be dissipated. One can vividly see his glowing complexion of molten gold, which dispels the darkness of ignorance. And this text 60, the sinful life of the living beings results from ignorance. To destroy that ignorance, Lord Chaitanya, he has brought various weapons, such as his plenary associates, his devotees, and the holy name. So here we get an understanding that Lord Chaitanya has come to wage war, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya tadiskratam, to wage war against the mode of ignorance of the Kali Yuga that is all pervasive. And we can see that in everyday life, Yaśodā, how all the churches are being shut down all throughout this city of Hamilton. There are hundreds of churches, and they're all derelict. They're all being turned into different meeting halls and philanthropic buildings for social welfare work. So Lord Chaitanya has come to dissipate the darkness of ignorance with his devotees and holy name. I wanted Vinkat, if he could please just go to the beginning of Adi Leela chapter 1, the opening summary, so that we can review, as Lord Chaitanya is stating here, his devotees. Who is he referring to here? And this will give us some insight, because the disciplic succession has to be properly understood so that people that receive it can get it without adulteration. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than a combined form of Radha and Krishna. He is the life of those devotees who strictly follow in the footsteps. And here we go. Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami are the two principal followers of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, who acted as the most confidential servitor of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Vishwambar in his early life. A direct disciple of Rupa Goswami was Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, the author of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami stands as the direct disciple of Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. The direct disciple of Sri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami was Srila Narottam Das Thakur, who accepted Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti as his servitor. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur accepted Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, who initiated Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, who in turn initiated Srila Gokasur Das Babaji, the original spiritual master of Om Vishnu Pad, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, the divine master of our humble self. So these are all the warriors that Lord Chaitanya has appeared with. Since we belong to this chain of disciplic succession from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this edition of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta will contain nothing newly manufactured by our tiny brains, but only remnants of foodstuff originally eaten by the Lord himself. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not belong to the mundane plane of the three qualitative modes. He belongs to the transcendental plane beyond the reach of the imperfect sense perception of a living being. Even the most erudite mundane scholar cannot approach the transcendental plane unless he submits himself to the transcendental sound with a receptive mood. For in that mood only one can realize the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Great opportunity for each one of us. What will be described herein, therefore, is nothing to do with the experimental thoughts created by the speculative habits of inner minds. The subject matter of this book is not a mental concoction, but a factual spiritual existence that one can realize only by accepting the line of disciplic succession described above. Any deviation from that line will bewilder the reader's understanding of the mystery of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, which is a transcendental literature meant for the postgraduate study of one who has realized all the Vedic literatures such as the Upanishads and Vedanta and their natural commentaries such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And we'll just finish up here. This edition of Caitanya-caritāmṛta is presented for the study of sincere scholars who are really seeking the absolute truth. It is not the arrogant scholarship of a mental speculator, but a sincere effort to serve the order of a superior authority whose service is the life and soul of this humble effort. It does not deviate even slightly from the revealed scriptures, and therefore anyone who follows in this disciplic line will be able to realize the essence of this book simply by the method of oral reception. So profound and so direct in understanding how fortunate we all are to be in this class, this discussion today. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, could you further elaborate for us briefly?
I think there was a very important point that was made in what you just read, that in order to understand the disciplic succession, its message and teaching, one is to accept the description of this disciplic succession, just like it was presented. Now, some of you, I'm assuming that many of you on this call are familiar with the changes that people have made in their revised, adulterated version of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. When the editors changed, when Srila Prabhupada said that Jagannath Das Babaji initiated Bhaktivedanta Thakur. This was Prabhupada's statement. In their revised adulterated version, they deleted the word initiated because they didn't like that this did not conform to their understanding of the meaning of initiation. Now, this is quite arrogant for anybody to say that. Srila Prabhupada makes a statement. It's very clear. It's simple to understand. It's not complicated. If one does not accept Srila Prabhupada's statement that Jagannath Das Babaji initiated Bhaktivedanta Thakur, that means that somebody falls into that category that Prabhupada has just described. They will not be able to understand the transcendental meaning of the disciplic succession of Lord Chaitanya. This is very significant because we see in various conversations with many of our contemporaries that many of them claim that Srila Prabhupada cannot initiate anyone. Well, how did Jagannath Babaji initiate Bhaktivedanta Thakur? In what sense of the word? What does initiation mean? How does Prabhupada describe initiation? In various purports, various conversations, he's given different meanings. We've often discussed on these sessions how initiation means the beginning. This was Prabhupada's point, that initiation means giving the transcendental knowledge purely. That is conveying the message of the disciplic succession. If somebody changes the message or adulterates the message, then it's something else altogether. It becomes very different. I wanted to ask Balaram Prabhu, what do you think?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, wonderful discourse, and we can see the absolute necessity for receiving this knowledge through the unadulterated chain of disciplic succession, the parampara. Any deviation is going to cause havoc in the process. And going right back to Krishna, Rama, Narad, Vyas, we can even look at the wonderful conversation Narad Muni explaining Srimad Bhagavatam to Srila Vyasadeva when he was despondent after compiling all of the Vedic literatures, Vedanta Sutta, everything, yet he was despondent. He wasn't experiencing the taste, the ruchi, atma ruchi. He was not experiencing the taste, and Narad could understand that. So in his wisdom, he began to explain that he had not described the glories of the Supreme Lord. So as a result, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam was presented. So that, and actually the Atmaruchi, Prabhupada explained, I was listening to a class and Srila Prabhupada was explaining that it was a class on actually that very section 1.5.25 in Srimad Bhagavatam, and that was where Narad Muni was explaining how he came to receive the mercy of the Vaishnavas. He said, at one time I received the mercy of receiving their prasad, and at that stage my heart became purified and I became attracted to the nature of the transcendentalist, simply by taking the remnants of prasad of the Brahmins who were there. And he explains that in the previous life, in the previous millennium, he was born as a maidservant. So this time he was doing service for the Brahmins, the saintly Brahmins who were there. And simply by taking their prasad, he became attracted. So we can see that this is what we have to spread. Srila Prabhupada is our current Acharya for the next 10,000 years. Srila Prabhupada's books. This is the prasad that we have to distribute. Srila Prabhupada, the nectar of his words. Listen to Srila Prabhupada's class every day. As you were saying, so many wonderful references Srila Prabhupada has given us. I remember when we were going out on Sankirtan book distribution with Buddhimanta in the early 70s, and there were 6 of us. We were the book distribution party in the van. We would chant the whole Sri Upanishad. We all knew we knew so many verses. We would chant that on the way out. That was our war cry, our battle cry, going out to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. So very nice that you're encouraging devotees, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, to not only just read, but also to learn these shlokas and understand the actual meaning of these. Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, Amrita, the nectar of the instruction, Upadesh Amrita. So everyone is looking in the material world, they're all looking for satisfaction of the self. And Prabhupada says actually the word Atma refers to not only the Supreme Self, but also to the body, the mind, and the intelligence. Yashatma Buddhe Kunape Tridhatuke. One who thinks the self is as the body composed of the 3 elements, and the land of birth is worshipable. Saeva Gokara, no better than a cow or an ass. So we have to develop that Atmaruchi for the true self, the soul, and that can only be understood by following Srila Prabhupada, and we can see all the way down the transcendental line of disciplic succession, and that is our shelter. So if we deviate from that, actually in the reading, if I could just refer to a verse, I haven't got the light on here, but I think it was verse number, text 61. The greatest ignorance consists of activities, whether religious or irreligious, that are opposed to devotional service. They are to be known as sins. You see? So we can see that that's it, religious or irreligious activities. So religious activities that are opposed to devotional service, what impersonalists, any activity that's opposed to devotional service is denying the existence of Lord Krishna or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the impersonalists, and Prabhupada classifies that as sinful activity. So we have to surrender to Srila Prabhupada, listen to his classes every day, read his books, and also read Srila Prabhupada's small books, Topmost Yoga System, Easy Journey to Other Planets. These books contain a wealth of information. They were the early books that we started reading before we had the Bhagavatam and so many big books. So my recommendation to so many of the maybe newer devotees that are here with us, is to make sure that you explore all of Srila Prabhupada's books that he's presented for us, especially some of those little books. They're so good for preaching. Perfect questions, perfect answers. Sometimes we neglect those, but please make use of them. Srila Prabhupada intended that. So thank you very much for the association. Prabhu's wonderful class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Balaram, in Australia, for your comments. Greatly appreciated, Prabhu. Because, and Yaśodā-nandana did bring up a very valuable point based on the reading, that the nectar of Krishna consciousness is in its purity, how it's presented purely according to Prabhupada's teachings. And it's like a razor's edge, very, very important that people do not deviate from his instructions on how we should study his literature. And we do know that in some cases people have minimized his presentations, and this is a mistake. We have Dvaipana Vyasa also in Australia, if you'd like to make a comment, Prabhu, or a question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we
Can
can.
you hear me? Hare
Yes, we
Krishna,
can.
thank you very much for that wonderful explanation, Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa. I'd just like to comment, a couple of days ago, I was watching the live Rath Yatra from Jagannath Puri.
Uh-huh.
And I was watching it on some channel I picked up on YouTube. And mostly the commentary was like in Hindi at 100 miles an hour. But sometimes you did hear them mention Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyway, luckily while I was watching it, they switched to an English commentator. And he started describing the glories of Kirtan and Samkirtan. And he described it from a very Vaishnava point of view. Particularly, he was mentioning this is a Vaishnava thing, especially. And he said, I think he said, maybe it was Yogananda was the first to bring it to the West, but he said, but it was actually intensified extremely by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, who spread the Sankirtan all over the world. So he glorified Prabhupada in his work in spreading the Sankirtan. And then he went on to describe the glories of chanting the holy name of the Lord. He made a distinction between the individual sparks, all the living entities as individual sparks, and as a Paramatma, and he described Lord Jagannath as the Paramatma. And he gave a very nice Vaishnava explanation of the glories of Sankirtan and glorified Srila Prabhupada. And I was very happy to hear that. And yes, I just like to, I'm really into Kirtan, Sankirtan and Prasadam, because when Prabhupada came to Australia a couple of times, he stressed that mode of spreading Krishna consciousness. And just a couple of days ago, you read a verse, number 40, from the chapter 3, that says, the religious practice for the age of Kali is to broadcast the glories of the holy name. Only for this purpose has Lord in the yellow color descended as Lord Chaitanya. So this was Prabhupada's mood right from the start, to actually broadcast the Sankirtan. He sent us out in the streets chanting every day, all day, every day. And we can see that this was directly the mode of Lord Chaitanya to spread actually because Lord Chaitanya is the most munificent avatar. Why? Because he was spreading freely love of God. So as disciples of Prabhupada in the disciplic succession, the way to connect to that disciplic succession is to freely distribute the holy name of the Lord and prasadam. Yes, I really like to stress those points. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
That's an excellent point. Thank you. I was just looking at the verse and the purport. John Espriya in Hawaii, are you with us, young man? If you could share some of your thoughts on these matters.
Hari Bol, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, talking about deviation in my career as a devotee, I've seen many times so-called advanced devotees, and they think, oh, I could make this more attractive to a wider variety of people, and they start mixing all kinds of nonsense, new age, or we could see that nowadays that this is going on. Some of these devotees, so-called very advanced devotees, they're totally talking nonsense. So in my experience is that every single one of these persons that starts speculating, getting away from what Prabhupada taught us, every single one has fallen totally away eventually, because this speculation is very dangerous. It's sahadya. They have become sahadyas. So we gotta be very careful that we simply repeat what we hear from our guru. And one time we were having a class on Bhaktivedanta, and we were reading some kind of scripture, something that Bhaktivedanta wrote, and it was 90% of what he said is what Prabhupada was saying, exactly to the letter. So this is the example that Prabhupada gave us, that we don't need to speculate, we don't need to make anything up. We simply need to repeat what Prabhupada says on his books, what we heard from him, either live or on his tapes. And if we take this route, then that's the safest way to go, because Prabhupada will be pleased. And when we simply pass on the knowledge as we received it from the pure devotee, then that message is going to have some potency. But as soon as we start speculating, then game is over. We become sahadyas, and eventually will fall away. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
Thanks everybody for their comments, particularly Balaram and Dvaipayana Prabhu. There's a lot of very deep meanings in what you said. Also Janaspriya Prabhu. On that page 17 of the original edition of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Vishwakarma Prabhu was reading about the disciplic succession. And Prabhupada makes a very important point in paragraph number 3. He says, any deviation from that line will bewilder the reader's understanding of the mystery of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, which is a transcendental literature meant for the postgraduate study of one who has realized all the Vedic literatures, such as the Upanishads and Vedanta, and their natural commentaries, such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Now, what is that line that he's talking about? That's given in the second paragraph, where Prabhupada explains the direct disciple of Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami was Srila Narottam Das Thakur, who accepted Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti as his servitor. Now, it's important to note here that Vishwanath Chakravarti never physically met Narottam Das Thakur. How did he accept him as his servitor? So we have to go deep into the meaning of these statements. Then Prabhupada goes on, Srila Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur accepted Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, who initiated Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, who in turn initiated Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji, the spiritual master of Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, the divine master of our humble self. Now we have to go understand, what does Prabhupada mean by accepted and initiated? If they did not physically meet together, there's a lecture that Prabhupada gave, that Prabhupada explained that Vishwanath Chakravarti accepted his guru, Narottam Das Thakur, because we see this propaganda that you have to have a living guru. How did Vishwanath Chakravarti accept Narottam Das Thakur since they never met? They never physically met. So how did he explain that? Well, the way they explain it is by changing the book, by misrepresenting Srila Prabhupada's statements and claiming that the explanations of Srila Prabhupada do not conform to our understanding of initiation in ISKCON. This is complete nonsense. You don't change the meaning of Prabhupada's words because it does not fit into your speculation and mistaken idea. When Prabhupada used the word initiated or accepted, this is in a sense of transcendental knowledge. This is one of the characteristics of the critics of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Vrindavan, some of the caste Goswamis and Radhakund Babajis. And they say, well, Bhaktisiddhanta did not give the name of a very warm-bodied Diksha Guru in the disciplinate succession in the Diksha line. And Bhaktisiddhanta's reply says, we follow the Bhagavat Parampara of the great powerful acharyas who spread Krishna consciousness. And this is why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada presented the disciplinate succession as they've given in here. This is what we have to accept. And those who are interested in grammatical embellishment programs, they don't accept what Prabhupada said, and we don't accept them. If they reject Prabhupada's words, we do not accept them. It's very simple. Just like Dvaipayana Prabhu was explaining. Prabhupada made things simple. Distribute the holy name, distribute prasadam. And if you give them some books, give them the original books. If people want cow milk, why do you want to give them buffalo milk? We're not a buffalo milk sampradaya. Just give them the pure cow milk of Prabhupada's instructions. Very simple. Very simple. Hare Krishna.
A very important point that you're making for everyone that's watching this evening's discussion and reading. And this is not for criticism of others, but for clarification. There is a lot of confusion going on. Prabhupada described it as chaos after his demise. It would come. And it becomes in the form of mental speculation. And a lot of it is, as Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has explained so nicely in the past, based on material motives of profit, adoration, and distinction. Why would they change the Bhagavad Gita to, I can remember memorizing that verse back in the early 70s. He has seen the truth. And then one day I was reading the Gita, I thought, how did this change to they have seen the truth? And then I could realize that it was a justification for the adoption of the elected guru system by the GBC. So this is unfortunate. We want to thank everyone for attending this evening's program.
Balaram Prabhu has his hand raised. Prabhu.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed that. Yes, Balaram.
Oh, Prabhu, just on prasadam, I was just reading Bhagavatam this morning, and if there's just a minute or so, just Prabhupada says,
Sure.
even today in Jagannath Kshetra and other big temples, Very palatable dishes are offered to the deity, and prasad is distributed profusely. This is 10th canto, chapter 7, text number 15 in the purport. And it's a very long purport, beautiful purport. Prabhupada says, cooked by first-class Brahmins with expert knowledge and then distributed to the public, this prasad is also a blessing from the Brahmins or Vaishnavas. There are 4 kinds of prasad, chatur vidha. Salty, sweet, sour, and pungent tastes are made with different types of spices, and the food is prepared in 4 divisions called kavya, chasya, lehya, and peya. Prasad that is chewed, prasad that is leaked, prasad that is tasted with the tongue, and prasad that is drunk. Thus, there are many varieties of prasad prepared very nicely with grains and ghee, offered to the deity, grains and ghee, offered to the deity and distributed to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas and then to the general public. This is the way of human society. Killing the cows and spoiling the land will not solve the problems of food. This is not civilization. Uncivilized men living in the jungle and being unqualified to produce food by agriculture and cow protection may eat animals, but a perfect human society advanced in knowledge must learn how to produce first-class food simply by agriculture and protection of cows. So Srila Prabhupada is writing this 50 years ago, seeing, and now they're trying to eliminate cows from the planet. Hare Krishna.
Yes, and it is very important to know how to offer prasadam correctly and not change it according to Prabhupada's direction. In a conversation with Tamal Krishna in regards to offering a feast to Bhaktisiddhanta on his appearance day, Tamal Krishna asked Prabhupada, should we put the plate of prasadam in front of your spiritual master? I'll see if I can send this to Vinkat. I think this is, let's see if I can do this. Sorry. I'll try to send it to you, Prabhu. Copy the photo. And here it comes. The magic of modern technology. Vinkat, did you get that? If you could check your WhatsApp application.
Not yet. But is it if you can tell me the date of the conversation, I can probably pull it up.
Yeah, February 15th, 1971. Tamal Krishna. And Prabhupada, do you want us to offer feast to your Guru Maharaj at noontime? A special plate of feast. So interesting question here from Tamal. Obviously, he did not understand how to do this. So Prabhupada gives him the sauce. Not a special plate, Prabhupada said. The process is that whatever we offer to the deity, that is offered to Guru. And Guru offers it to his Guru. Everyone carefully study this. In this way goes to Krishna. We don't directly offer Radha Krishna. No, we have no right. Neither he accepts in that way. The pictures of the Acharya, why there are. Actually, one has to offer the plate to his Guru. And he'll offer his Guru. He offers his Guru. His Guru. In this way, it will go to Krishna. That is the process. You cannot directly approach Krishna or other subordinates to Krishna. That is not possible. So, Tamal Krishna, so we may offer you a special feasting. Prabhupada. As you do, that is all right. The process is this. not you or you. That is the process. Then all right. Very, very important, because people claim that they're serving prasadam, but if they don't follow this procedure, it's not prasadam. It's not. It has to be offered to our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, and in that way, it becomes blessed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through Prabhupada's mercy. So critical. And this is applied to everything that every disciple in this call has to understand. That we are solely the servants of Srila Prabhupada only. Nothing else. We do not go to other people on any other basis, as Prabhupada had given us direction personally, not to associate with his godbrothers. For that very reason, we are Prabhupada disciples. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. And by the way, Dvaipana, you're right. It is a great sadness that I think back how much Harinam Sankirtan was being propagated on the streets of the world when Prabhupada was present with us, and how it has diminished miserably. In fact, everywhere I go, people go, do the Hare Krishna still exist? I never see you people. Of course, we see some, but not much. And now we're going to listen to a kirtan from Srila Prabhupada's 60s pastimes with his devotees. And as Jonas Priya told us, he's playing the bongo drum because they forgot the mridanga at the studio. And Prabhupada plays it expertly and leads us in the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. All glories to Prabhupada.
Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare. Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa
Kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.